Montreal, the everyday, and the extraordinary. The Elias Macco Show on CJAD 800.
Trudy sitting in, and we're talking now about rents and how they may be affected by what is being forecast as a significant change in the landscape of rental accommodations here in Quebec. The forecast is that the vacancy rate for apartments, for homes, will hit 4.6% in the Greater Montreal region within a couple of years. The market is considered balanced when there is a 3% vacancy rate. So 4.8% would indicate more choices out there for tenants. However, for landlords, it could signal a tougher time finding tenants and keeping their buildings out of debt. In other words, having them fully rented so that they don't end up losing money on their investment. Here to help us understand what might transpire, well, you hear him all the time on CJAD 800 as co-host of Under One Roof Montreal every Sunday at noon on this station, LJ Aguinaga. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So what do you make of this shift? On the surface, it looks as though maybe a higher vacancy rate would be beneficial for tenants, not so beneficial for landlords. Is that your take as well?
That is correct. Prices are definitely going down in the rental world. We've seen it this year. We've seen an influx of supply due to a variety of reasons that the article covers a bit. And we've seen that immigration is definitely down. We're feeling those effects right now. So we're definitely already seeing this hit the market. We know that with a lot of the newer constructions, a lot of the developers are giving 1, 2, maybe even 3 months free rent. But I think what the article misses on to a certain extent is that while we do have a shift in the market, we're not seeing a ton of affordable units hitting the market.
I understand that's obviously in terms of the homeless crisis and the need for more affordable housing. I understand that's a concern, but what about the thought that when higher cost homes come onto the market, they take people out of lower priced units, people whose careers have progressed, maybe they're a little bit older, they're making some more money, and they can afford a nicer place to live. Is that not how it actually works these days?
We are seeing certain people definitely move up and move into nicer places, and they're actually getting better deals on those places than they would have in the last year or two. So those people find themselves in a really good situation. Somebody who was renting at, let's say, $1,800 to $2,000 and was thinking of going to $2,500 to $3,000 is finding a deal on those properties that might end up costing them $2,250 or in that range. So that demographic is definitely being super well serviced by this shift in the market.
The addition of housing units, they're talking 30,000 new units coming on the market over the next 2 years, which is, according to one housing expert quoted by La Presse, unprecedented, never before seen. It's a record. And that's one of the reasons why the vacancy rate is expected to go up, is because of this flood of new units, 30,000, at a time when immigration is dropping. And so there's a surplus of supply. The supply is too rich. At those rents you were quoting, though, LJ, should not those families maybe be looking at buying? You know, if you're talking about putting $3,000 a month into a rental unit, is that not mortgage territory?
It definitely is. But the other side of this coin is that in order to access these properties on a purchase front, they have the good credit, they have the income, but they don't necessarily have the down payment. And that becomes the other side of this conversation. You've got people who have excellent credit who would make great candidates to purchase a property, but haven't had enough time to save. And sometimes by going into these higher price point rentals, they're actually slowing down their savings rate and making it even more difficult to get onto the home ownership side of things.
What do banks like to see these days in terms of savings before they'll consider somebody for a mortgage?
Look, the minimum continues to be 5% on the first $500,000 and 10% on the percentage above $500,000. Banks are happy to see that with an extra 1.5% of the purchase price for closing costs. You can also go all the way to 20% and avoid the mortgage insurance premium. So really, as long as your ratios are in line, which is a measure of your income to the debt that you're taking on, they're happy with anything in those vicinities.
So they're not being particularly picky at this time.
No, for sure not. It's really just all the inflation that we've had over the last couple of years has made it more difficult to save for your average Canadian.
What about people who might be interested in buying a rental property, let's say a small apartment building, a triplex, a duplex, or a fourplex, something like that? The projections for higher vacancy, it might be indicating to them they'd have a tougher time filling their units. Is this not a good time to buy?
It's definitely one of the indications we have. We're definitely changing the way we pro forma units. We've reduced the rents on all of our pro formas right now for expected rent in different neighborhoods, and we're approaching with a lot more caution. Now, we are seeing prices stay stagnant. They haven't really started to come down at all, and plexes are actually one of the best gaining properties on the market in the Greater Montreal area right now. So it's a bit of a mixed bag on that front because we're definitely starting to price that in, but we haven't seen it in the actual price of these properties right now. They continue to be great investment vehicles in general, so we're going to have to keep an eye on how properties are trading relative to their revenues.
And when you're talking about plexes in particular, kind of being a hot commodity, that's what you're saying right now, a lot of interest in plexes?
Correct.
By buyers?
Exactly.
What's driving that, considering there's been so much negativity about bad tenants, the difficulty of dealing with bad tenants, the rigmarole you have to go through to get an eviction, for example? Why are investors, and I would assume these are small investors, looking at plexes as a good deal?
Because ultimately, I think most small investors, like you mentioned, still understand the value of having an asset that's hedged against inflation. With all the inflation that we're seeing and the fact that we continue to see prices going up, they still see the value in buying property, especially property where they're dividing their rental risk over multiple units, whether that's a duplex, triplex, fourplex. The other side of the coin is that people have been looking to get into the market, and as much as we focus on all the bad, it's very common to know that nobody speaks about the good. Your friend who has an investment property at a fourplex that's doing great, they don't walk around telling you how great it's doing. It's shunned upon to discuss that way. So they take a second to really analyze, let's ask everybody who's in the market, let's see how much trouble they're actually having. And they realize that most people are not actually having trouble with their properties. They're self-managing, things are going smoothly, they very rarely get calls. If they do get a phone call for something, they send the appropriate vendor, whether it's a plumber or electrician, and they go on about their business. It's not as difficult to manage, but everyone always focuses on the negative points versus on focusing on the positives.
From what you're seeing, are most of the people approaching you about buying into plexes planning to live in one of the units, or are these strictly an investment vehicle?
I see both quite significantly. Anytime it's a first-time buyer, they're usually going to be living in the property. Whenever it's somebody who already has some properties, it'll usually be strictly investment. But being an owner-occupied triplex or fourplex owner is one of the best things you can do financially. You get some of the tax deductions for the interest on the property. You get to live in the property, so you're going to get a portion of it sheltered from capital gains tax. There's just a lot of advantages. Plus, you get to buy it with a smaller down payment. So you get into a larger property, price point-wise, that's going to be subject to greater appreciation on the full amount, and you get a lot of the discounts from the tax perspective. So it still is one of the most interesting ways to invest your funds in Canada.
Given the vacancy rate projected at the end of the next 2 years of 4.8%, what is your best advice now to tenants who may be moving, or maybe even moving up, or maybe moving laterally, and your best advice to buyers of rental units?
For tenants, it remains, make sure you have a clean credit record. Make sure you don't have any negative comments from you at the rental board, and criminal, obviously. Making sure that your profile is ready to go is going to allow you to be in a really good position to find a great unit and be the top choice for that unit. And then for landlords, it comes down to making sure your tenants are happy, making sure you service them when requested, that you're there, that you listen, and that you're very conscious of rental increases during this time period where vacancies are going up and where the cost of finding a new tenant might significantly outweigh a large increase.
Thanks for the advice, LJ.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
LJ Aguinaga, certified residential and commercial real estate broker, co-host of Under One Roof Montreal. You can hear that every Sunday at noon here on CJAD 800. You know, my brother just had an experience. He sold his place finally in Toronto, was moving into a rental while they figure out what they want to do. And they got their rental house because the couple who had gotten there just before them submitted a credit report that had been generated by AI and was completely fake. And I guess they figured the landlord wouldn't check, but the landlord checked and realized they had faked this credit report and said, "No, I'm not renting you." So my brother benefited. They got the unit. Good on them. Wow. Can you imagine the moxie of doing that? An AI-generated credit. All right. When we come back, we will turn our attention, we hope, to trade. Back to the Trump trade delay, the 3-day delay announced. He says that a deal is pending. That's coming up after we check traffic.
You've heard the chaos. Now you can see it. Oh my God. Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app.
Gets the blood going, huh?
Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus. Now with full video.
We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk.
It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen.
Cheers.
Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch.
Missed something?
Subscribe to the Elias Macco Show podcast to catch up.
Available on iHeartRadio and wherever you get your podcasts.
The Montreal Chamber of Commerce is telling the candidates in the provincial election that Montreal should be a central driver of the province's economic growth. We'll tell you what the Chamber is expecting to hear from the candidates in a moment.
When the news breaks, be the first to know with CJAD 800.
A Quebec-based consulting firm is launching a major push to help Canadians claim billions of dollars in forgotten federal disability retirement benefits.
Get it first. Get it right. With breaking news emails sent to your inbox. Sign up today at CJAD800.com.
You've heard the chaos. Now you can see it. Oh my God. Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app.
Gets the blood going, huh?
Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus. Now with full video.
We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk.
It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen.
Cheers.
Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch. The newest tracks.
Let's go.
New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.
Stories impacting Montrealers. News impacting Montreal. The Elias Macco Show. News Talk Radio. CJAD 800.
The Montreal Chamber of Commerce looking ahead to the election campaign that we expect to begin in a matter of days, before the end of the month anyway, is what is commonly thought to be the start of the election campaign. And it is putting the candidates on notice that Montreal should be seen as a central driver of the province's economic growth and therefore deserving of some attention. Here to tell us more about what the Montreal Chamber of Commerce is looking for from the candidates and their parties is Isabelle Dessureault, president of the Chamber. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mrs. Mason.
It is not unusual for the Chamber of Commerce, a Board of Trade, to come up with some ideas pitched to the parties vying for power. And you have generated one that basically says that Montreal deserves some special recognition. Do you feel that Montreal has not been recognized as the economic motor of Quebec?
Well, what we are seeing in the news, in the white paper that we have just unveiled this morning, is that we feel Montreal is evolving below its true potential. And we have never lacked talent, ideas, or energy. But right now, if we want Quebec to reach its full potential, it needs to unleash the potential of its metropolis as well.
So where does the province start in your view? What should the candidates be looking at?
Well, we arrived with 9 recommendations that are focused, very measurable results. Our proposition, our recommendation goes up to say what should be done for each recommendation in the first year of the mandate, and then what we are expecting in terms of KPIs, in terms of results by 2030. So it's not a time. We don't want intention in this next chapter. We want results, and we will follow those results. So as an example, we are calling for a 20% reduction in the regulatory burden by 2030 for our enterprise. We are asking for a stronger use of public procurement to drive innovation, better and faster delivery of major infrastructure projects, of course, and a 10-year long-term strategy for downtown Montreal that we see as a national asset.
Oh, what would you like to see done downtown? We've had, for example, the major rebuild of St. Catherine Street. We've had some work on infrastructure there. Beyond that, what would the Chamber like to see?
What we want is to go back to a governance, a shared table where the federal, the Quebec government, and the city leadership are at the same table. They plan for something in terms of 10-year ambitions. So no matter what, who's going to be the mayor or a politician in Ottawa or in Quebec, there's a long-term view for downtown. Of course, in this, we're talking about Le Palais des Congrès. We are seeing right now a lot of renovation taking place in the Quartier des Spectacles as well. We're talking about transportation and mobility for the metro, and the homeless situation is, of course, for us an issue that should be also shared at this table in terms of solution that should come from the three level of government.
Concerning the request for 5% of eligible public procurement being put towards innovation, how would that work?
Yeah, well, right now, the Quebec government itself can be a client in terms of purchases. We're talking about $26 billion of goods and services every year. What we're saying and what we are saying is that we should target what should come, what should be invested in terms of innovation. 5% is a norm that we've seen in Europe for many other states and countries. That's a target where we will create new champions. So that where the government could be the first client in terms of the first client for a scale-up, for an innovative enterprise, and should make sure it's a leverage for our innovation.
And concerning the ask for the cutting of red tape, a reduction in the regulatory burden by 20%, it seems that this comes up at every level of government, every election. Why is this such an ongoing problem where government just doesn't seem capable of simplifying things?
Yeah, well, you're right. We're talking about it for probably the last 20 years. Many people and many organizations has brought ideas. I think that right now there is a consensus even among the chef of the different parties, but I think it's the way it has been done. Let me give you an example. What we're saying is one time should be enough. What we mean by that is that if a company give its information to the government one time is enough. Should not be, it should be responsibility of the government to be able not to ask the same information on and on and on. You know, we're saying that every year $40,000 is being wasted by all of our SMEs just to comply to all those requirements. And Quebec right now is the worst in the entire country. And we've seen what has been done in BC, where they were able to reduce their burden of regulatory by 37% in 3 years by setting specific binding targets for each ministry.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see whether the parties take you up on the ideas. I thank you very much, Isabelle Dessureault, for joining us on CJAD this morning.
Thank you, Mrs. Mason.
President of the Montreal Chamber of Commerce.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
And more. All your decade-defining favorites all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away. Breaking news. Considered. The Elias Macco Show. News Talk Radio. CJAD 800.
We have some new statements from U.S. President Donald Trump about the trade agreement he referenced in his social media post last night when he said a deal with Canada is pending the paperwork. This is what he said this morning.
Yeah, we had a very good conversation with the Prime Minister last night, and we've come to a deal with Canada. As you know, the 50% tariffs across the board were going on against Canada today. And they called yesterday and they gave us the points that we had to have. Very fair deal for both. The tariffs will be non-existent for our farmers. Our farmers were paying tremendous tariffs into Canada, and those tariffs are going to be totally eviscerated, down to zero.
Is the U.S. going to lower tariffs on Canadian autos or lumber?
We're doing certain things. Got to give something, and we're doing certain things. They were paying a high number. We're reducing it a little bit. It's good for everybody. But our farmers are going to be thrilled. Our manufacturers are going to be thrilled. And basically, we have no tariffs going into Canada anymore. Canada was charging us tremendous tariffs. We no longer have any tariffs. And what I was able to do is we put, as you know, under the new tariff, I guess you'd call it the new tariff schedules that we came out with. They were going to get a 50% tariff on everything starting today. And we've held it back 3 days. It's all subject to finalization of documents. So subject to the finalization of documents, we have a deal with Canada. And I think it's a very good deal for both parties. It's great for our farmers. Our farmers will no longer be held up because they were being hurt very badly by Canada. Yeah.
So, is that hinting at dairy when he's talking about farmers? I think that might be a good bet, is that the dairy quotas maybe have been adjusted. We don't know because we don't have the details yet. I think some of the analysts we spoke to this morning were indicating that they didn't think supply management would be called into question as a whole, that there might be an adjustment of quotas, possibly with compensation for Canadian farmers for the increased competition they might face from American products coming into our market. I do find it remarkable that Donald Trump is admitting he had to give something up. That he didn't win all the way. He didn't triumph over Canada. He isn't, dancing on our beaten body. He's saying it's good for both. Well, frankly, Donald, I think we'll be the judge of that, whether it's good for both of us. But that's the latest from Donald Trump. Again, he had suspended the imposition of those 50% tariffs, the latest round, for 3 days so that the paperwork can be completed on a deal. Our Prime Minister has said there is still a great deal of work to be done on that score. Other news you can use. I wanted to give a quick mention about the commemorations for Oliver Jones, because there is one that is today, and of course there will be a public funeral tomorrow. Today, if you would like, there will be a period in the Hall of Honor at City Hall for members of the public who want to come and pay their final respects to this wonderful musician, considered really top of his class during his performing years, Oliver Jones. That will take place this afternoon. Dignitaries and members of the family will be allowed in 1 to 1:30, and then the doors will be open to the public from 1:30 until 7:30 this evening. That's in the Hall of Honor at City Hall, 275 Notre Dame Street East. And then tomorrow, the funeral will be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon at Union United Church on DeLille Street in Montreal. Other news you can use, bringing in Maxime Cadot, content producer at this point. Max.
Trudy, the biggest news you need to know for this coming weekend is, well, we all love traffic, don't we? Well, we got more coming. The Samuel de Champlain Bridge will be closed for the next 2 weekends for road surface work. Here's how it will work. The first weekend will be this one, where they're going to be closing the Champlain Bridge heading south, so heading towards Brossard. That means that you have several closures that are going to come in place in the Highway 15 South, Highway 20 East. Multiple exits and access ramps will not be available. It is being recommended that drivers divert their routes to the Turcotte Interchange and take the Jacques Cartier Bridge. That will create even more nightmares, to say the least. And then after that, the following weekend, being August 28th to August 31st, the northbound, so towards Montreal, will be closed once again, all because for road surface work. So Champlain Bridge, get ready. Things are not going to get any easier for the next 2 weekends.
That's what we needed to hear. Well, thanks for that, Max. It is news you can use if it means just staying off the road if you're able to. Wow. Never ending, it seems, road work in Montreal. I'll be back in a sec.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.
We are just shy of noon, and the news. I would like to thank Maxime Cadot, content producer of the Elias Macco Show, and Jay Farrar, technical whiz and master control, for their great service in keeping this show moving. Thanks very much, Max and Jay. And I hope, folks, you are able to enjoy your afternoon.
Of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.
You're listening to the Voice of Montreal.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
An iHeartRadio station.
You've heard the chaos. Now you can see it. Oh my God. Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app.
Gets the blood going, huh?
Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus. Now with full video.
We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk.
It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen. Cheers. Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch.